Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
These are tough times, and they're getting even tougher. The clock is ticking. The countdown to collapse is well underway. What are you going to do about it? Will you just wait for it to happen, or will you be ready when it happens? The decision is yours, and yours alone. Join myself, Mickey Fulp, Robert Ian, David Morgan, Jeff Berwick, Elijah Johnson, Alan Butler, Gregory Manarino, Daniel Amaduri, Andy Hoffman, Tekoa Da Silva, Trace Mayer, one of the world's leading Bitcoin authorities, Bix Weir, Jay Taylor, and Gary Christensen at the Liberty Mastermind Symposium in Las Vegas on February 21st and 22nd, and learn how to create your plan to survive the collapse. The last Liberty Mastermind Symposium was one of the most highly rated conferences ever, and this one promises to be even better. Don't miss it. Join us and register now at libertymastermind.us. libertymastermind.us. This one is going to be out of this world, and it's going to be even better because it's in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go to Liberty Mastermind US and sign up today. You are listening to the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1230 WBZT, and it's time for another Triple Lutz Report. This is episode 325, and it's December 11th, 2013, and that makes it 12/11/13. If you're in Europe or in Asia, it actually makes it 11/12/13, which is kind of a cool date, and it only happens once, well, I guess once every 1,000 years. So, in any event, talking here about an article called The State of Work. It's in this publication called theprospect.org, which must be some kind of union publication written by a guy named Harvey Mayerson, Mayerson. He writes for the Washington Post, or as many conservative commentators like to call it, the Washington Compost. And he goes back to 1974. He's bemoaning the state of labor and the fact that the standard of living for the middle class and the middle class worker has declined. And he comes up with some interesting reasons for it. Of course, they're the wrong reasons, but nonetheless, he comes up with an explanation. What he said is that the worker has steadily lost purchasing power, lost a standard of living, and what he was saying is that while Nixon was busy getting into a scandal, Watergate was going on, what happened in 74, it was the first time since the end of World War II that Americans' wages declined. And the reason he comes up with is that what was going on is that the decline of unions was going on, productivity was going down, and that debt was going up, and American economic lives were taking a hit because of globalization, deunionization, financialization, Walmartization, robotization, and the whole megillah of nefarious isations, as he now says, descended en masse on American people, on the American people. And what the guy really misses is that we had a decline in the educational system, we had inflation, we had debasement of the currency, and we had a decline in morality. And look, if he thinks unionization helped create wealth or spread the wealth, he's wrong. Okay, now first of all, let's look what happened. We had the last remnant of the gold standard end in 1971. We had the debasement of the morality of the country really go out the window in the 1960s. And then we had the worldwide competition begin in the auto industry, in the steel industry, in many of these fields where unionization protected low salary, low skill workers. And he thinks that the strikes that took place actually helped workers. And the fact is that it didn't. And then we had unionization, public unions come into place, and they actually helped increase taxes. All the while, when he's bemoaning the standard of living declining, he forgets that the tax rates increased dramatically on middle America, from Social Security taxes going up, Medicare taxes going up, a whole bunch of different taxes, real estate taxes that hit middle America. Why does Mayerson think that these taxes went up? It was to pay the benefits of the emerging public worker class. So for him to think that it's strictly a question of greedy corporations taking over is really naive. And also, look, the reason why the oil shocks took place is because the Arab countries were getting the shaft by the oil companies, but also because the dollars that they were getting for their products were losing purchasing power. And the first oil shock took place because the oil companies were paying the Arab countries, they were paying them somewhere around $3 a barrel, and then they cut the price they were paying them. And to boot, after Vietnam, the Great Society, all these wonderful social programs, they caused the value of the dollar to go down. And these Arabs said, hey, wait a second. Not only are we getting less money from the U.S. for the oil exports, but these dollars are worth less. So these oil shocks, well, they came in the guise of, hey, you guys are favoring Israel over the Arab countries that are at war. The fact is, they were really objections or revolts against a dollar that was losing its purchasing power. So he never really looks under the hood of the dollar and analyzes the reasons why purchasing power of the dollar is decreasing. And then he never looks at out-of-wedlock births and the welfare state, the emerging welfare state, the Great Society programs, which helped destroy black and minority families. Okay, I remember that we had my family owned some apartment buildings in a not so great part in New Jersey, and that one of the prerequisites for getting welfare was that the father had to leave the home, and that's what started happening here. And that you got rewarded for having children out of wedlock. And just go to Freakonomics, and you know that people get rewarded for bad behavior. That's the whole point of the welfare state. So then he talks about Volcker, the Volcker-induced recession. And look, Carter caused the recession. The recession happened, and the dollar was losing value incredibly. Volcker came in and he staunched the flow, the potential collapse of the dollar, by raising those interest rates. And he's got a very jauntist view of what was going on in the world. Reagan comes in and these rates are sky high. It leads in an era of prosperity, and automation is increased productivity, Mayerson. When you pay workers more than they're worth and you increase the minimum wage, businesses respond very simply by deploying capital to get rid of those overpriced workers. They're doing it in McDonald's now. They're doing it in CVS by automated checkout systems. They're doing it in Home Depot because why are they doing it? Because they want to get rid of employees so they don't have to give them health insurance. It's really that simple. So this guy belongs at the Washington Compost. And what's happening at the Washington Compost? Well, they had a productivity revolution too, because these good old days that Mayerson is really moaning after, that he wishes would come back, well, they used to have hot lead type. That's how they printed your newspaper back then, Mayerson. But you know what? They got rid of that. They went to offset printing and photo typesetting and computers so that they didn't need all those workers. And now your paper is bankrupt. They just sold it. And, they sold it to the guy who's, the owner of Amazon. And you can't make money on newspapers anymore because of productivity. Financialisation is directly attributable to the government manipulating interest rates and forcing people into this aspect of the economy. Because when you manipulate interest rates and government going into debt, governments all over, and then selling the debt, of course, you're going to wind up with malinvestment. It's something you don't understand because you don't understand economics. You think that unionization creates wealth. All unionization does is cause malinvestment and wind up having a certain sector of the employment force getting overpaid at the expense of other sectors getting underpaid. What about Apple? If they're so great, how come they're not unionized? Why are they getting paid the wages that they're getting paid without a union? They're getting paid above average wages. Same with Microsoft. Same with all these technology companies. Google, perfect example. They're giving them health care. They're feeding them 3 or 4 meals a day, and no union forced them to do that. Why are they doing it? I mean, I'd love for you to explain it to me, because you can't. And the fact is that the industries that are unionized are the ones that have gone down the tubes for the most part, unless they've had monopoly positions in their field. And eventually they go down the tubes also. And he demonizes Jack Welch. I think Jack Welch has made lots of mistakes. And he's upset over 401ks replacing defined benefit pensions. But look, when you have inflationary trends in the economy, you can't afford defined benefit pensions. They just don't work. So, Mayerson, you need to go back to school, get your degree in economics, learn about Austrian economics, and then you can understand what's going on. Other thing he demonizes is Walmart, where, look, companies definitely got issues. They don't treat their employees well, but the fact is their employees go elsewhere when they have the opportunity to, but because the government has so destroyed the economy, all that opportunity doesn't exist all that much. Manufacturing jobs certainly have dried up. Government has, through the EPA, the OSHA, and other of its agencies, certainly made many companies want to offshore their manufacturing. And look, the educational system that has been so successfully unionized and resulted in many teachers being overpaid and underworked has driven many jobs overseas. We don't have the skill force, the workforce with the skills necessary. Steve Jobs said he wanted to bring factories back to the United States, but he didn't have the engineering force necessary, leaving him no choice but to send jobs and factories over to China. He didn't want to do it. So anyway, hey, don't forget, libertymastermind.us. We've got an even better list of speakers than we had last time. It's going to be in Las Vegas, February 21, 22. Go there. You want to be there. Up next, we got some other things to talk about. Obamacare, it's blowing up before your very eyes. It's going to keep blowing up. And we'll be talking about that up next on the financialsurvivalnetwork.com, 1230 WBZT. Hi, it's Kerry Lutz. I recently decided to move my retirement account into physical precious metals to hedge against the coming times. If you want to move an existing retirement account into physical precious metals that you can hold in your hand, tax-free, there's no company that can do it more quickly and efficiently than Regal Assets. It took them just 24 hours to open my new IRA account, and all I had to do was fill out one simple form. The best part is that Regal Assets does all the work for you. They cover the setup and administrative costs for 2013. If you're interested in making the same move I did, call 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620. That's 855-678-6620, or visit them at regalassets.com. You'll be glad you did, and tell them Kerry sent you. We are back. And did you know that on the financialsurvivalnetwork.com, you get the news, no spin, no nothing, on 1230 WBZT. So the latest statistics are out. 13 people lost their health insurance for every person who's bought an Obamacare plan. We're going to have an interview with our producer who has almost succeeded in buying a healthcare insurance plan through an Obamacare exchange. Hopefully in the next couple of days. It's quite hilarious, the hoops that he had to jump through to do it. He's pretty computer savvy, so you want to hear the stories because it was a challenge for him. Took him about an hour to do it. You know, no wonder the thing is breaking down when you got 50,000 people who aren't as computer savvy as Brett trying to do this stuff. Of course, the thing is going to implode. So here it is. You know, there's so many people who are trying to buy insurance, and most of them, they go to Obamacare, they go to healthcare.gov, and most of them get pushed into Medicaid. And that's the big success of this. They're giving more people onto Medicaid, but they're not going to be able to get healthcare through Medicaid because more and more doctors are withdrawing, leaving them to Medicaid mills, and you know what that's all about. So just about 1.2 million people have gained health care coverage through Obamacare, according to the new federal data that was released Wednesday morning. That's today. And 365,000 of those people have purchased private insurance. We don't know what purchased means, whether they paid for it or not. 803,000 have been determined to be eligible for Medicaid. We'll see if they get care or not. So the majority of the users of the government website want free stuff. What a shock there is there. And the users of government who are most adept at this sort of thing, who head right to be an Obamacare navigator in their local community, tend to be experienced consumers of taxpayer money. What a shock. And the private health insurance market had to be trashed, and 5 million people had to lose their coverage so the Obama phone crowd could get more Obamacare. Isn't it great? And these enrollments, what a success. And this is what we're stuck with. And you can just expect more of this so they can point to these numbers and say mission accomplished. But the fact is, 365,000 people signed up for the private insurance. How many of them will really get it? How many of them think they have it but really don't have it because the back end isn't functioning properly to this day? We talked about those 834 forms. They're a mess. The back end is spitting out bad data. I told you about this in April, that it wasn't going to function properly. 5 million policies have been cut off. Could be as much as 10 or 12 million people have lost their policies So it actually could be somewhere around 25 to 35 people lose coverage for every one person or policy that signed up. We don't really know what the numbers are. That's the point. Hey, and I don't know if you caught this, but the government, for the privilege of snooping on you through your cell phone, is handing over to the cell phone carriers $20 million per year, which isn't a bad little source of revenue. Not much, considering that the cell phone carriers pull in tens of billions of dollars per year. But still, hey, it's a nice little reward for snooping on us, don't you think? So think about that the next time you go on your phone and you know that you're being snooped upon or snooped on. And Harvard, you got to love it. Aside from the fact that everybody gets an A for going to Harvard and paying 50, 60 grand a year in tuition, now the student body has voted to ban plastic single-use water bottles. They think it should no longer be sold on campus, leaving the fate of plastic water bottles in jeopardy at the Ivy League institution. And obviously, campus administrators can't be forced to go along with the student body's vote. But, you know, will they go along with it? Who knows? What do they have against water bottles? I go through 5 or 6 of them a day. I put them in the recycling bin. As far as I know, the town picks them up and they recycle them. At least they're making me do it. Maybe they toss them. Who knows? How much of the stuff that you put in the recycling bin really gets recycled? I think that recycling is a fraud, other than glass bottles and metal cans, aluminum cans and steel cans. But this is what they want. And when you're paying $50,000, $60,000 a year in tuition, it's probably what you're going to get. Don't get me started on recycling. Like I said, I believe that recycling is a fraud. It's not economically feasible. I don't believe that there's any justification for it. Originally, when recycling started, it was because the garbage companies got you to believe that we were running out of landfill space. As it turns out, surprisingly enough, we're not running out of landfills. There's plenty of them. I mean, arguably, there's some states that should just be turned into landfills, and you wouldn't know the difference. There's plenty of land for landfills, sanitary landfills. They line the bottom with clay or other materials so the stuff will not leach into the water supply. I mean, then as they dump the garbage there, they layer it, they coat it with garbage, with soil and clay and other materials. And then a cool thing happens. As the garbage deteriorates, it creates methane, and they put ventilating shafts in their pipelines, and it creates natural gas. And that gas is sucked into a pipeline, becomes part of the energy supply. But look, I mean, nobody wants to live near one of these things. There's plenty of land for them, but net, they ship these tractor trailer loads full of garbage. They barge them. They put them into rail cars. It's a fraud. It costs billions and billions of dollars. They should burn the stuff. They can burn it cleanly. They can burn it to create electricity. What are we doing here? It's time to take a look at bogus recycling once again and stop this insanity that costs us tens of billions of dollars a year, wasted money, trucking the stuff from point A to point B. I don't think it should be dumped in the ocean like they used to do in New York. That's totally wrong. That is environmentally irresponsible, should not be done. But let's end the madness here. There's no reason to be doing this recycling stuff. Let's go back to the good old days and burn it. Let's go back to what they used to do in New Jersey. When I grew up, they used to take the organic garbage, and they had pig farms in Secaucus. They didn't smell very good, but they fed the garbage to the pigs. That was recycling. Okay? The pigs ate the stuff, And then what did they do with the pigs? They butchered them and they made them into bacon and ham and pork, and everybody was happy. Some reason that wasn't good enough. You couldn't do that anymore, but that was recycling. Let's go back to the golden era of recycling. Feed the garbage to the pigs. What is wrong with that? If you got a problem with it, write me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@KERRYLUTZ.com, and hey, maybe I'll send you a Bitcoin. No, I'm not going to do that because a Bitcoin's worth anywhere from $500 to $1,000. I'm a generous guy, but I'm not that generous. I'm not going to do it. But look, this is the feel-goodism. This is the stuff. This is the reason why people buy Priuses, whatever. You don't help the economy, the environment by doing it, but it makes you think you're doing it. It makes you feel good about doing it, but you're not doing a damn thing. You're not helping anything. This is Kerry Lutz, been another Triple Lutz Report, signing off. Our friend Tom Dyson at the Palm Beach Letter is giving away free copies of a really cool report he put together called How to Protect Yourself from America's New Secret Police. Inside, you'll learn all sorts of simple, everyday tricks you can use to make yourself a little less visible and vulnerable to scammers, hackers, and even the federal government. For instance, inside Tom's report, you'll learn which free internet email service never to use. This company doesn't care if your account gets hacked or not. Or things the government must tell you if they request your social security number. And how to spot skimmers lying in wait on ATMs and gas pumps, and much, much more. These tricks and secrets are low-hanging fruit ideas. You don't have to invest time or much money into them. Most are free. But by taking some basic measures, you can make your privacy much harder to invade than your neighbors. Tom's report is available for a limited time to listeners who take a trial subscription to his newsletter. Just visit the Financial Survival Network homepage for more information, or go to www.palmbeachletter2.com. That's www.palmbeachletter2.com.
The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.